Good evening, everybody. It's a late night recording because I've spent most of the day watching what I'm going to be talking about, which is Midnight Mass. There's going to be spoilers ahead, so don't be surprised. I would suggest watching it if you are into melodrama. Otherwise, I guess just listen to me ramble about it for about 10 minutes. So Breyer got me into Midnight Mass. They talked about how it's like religion and vampires, and that's a good summary. It's Catholicism with vampires. And I haven't talked about this before, but I super love vampires. It is just chef's kiss for me, anything to do with vampires. Even Twilight to a certain extent, so feel free to make fun of me there. Um, But Midnight Mass in particular, it's an interesting concept because you have this priest, pastor, I don't know what the Catholics call him, I'm going to call him a priest. You have this priest go off, he's like 80 years old, he's got dementia, he's on his last legs, if not already past it. And, oh, I apologize for yawning. I'm going to try and cut that out a little bit because I'm yawning a lot right now. But um, going back on topic, you have this dude go off to Jerusalem, and he gets lost in a sandstorm, and is convinced he meets an angel and brings the angel back to his flock. And his flock happens to be a dying fishing town on an itty bitty island that any good tropical storm will just absolutely kill him because holy shit, it's tiny and flat and it should be below sea level. I'm pretty sure with global warming it'll be below sea level in like 3 years anyway. So maybe the events of the movie weren't that bad for it. Anyway, so he comes back, but the story starts following this dude who like drunk drives, passes out, kills someone, goes to jail for involuntary manslaughter, I think, while under DUI. And he's released from jail and he's going home to this tiny ass island. And he's like, I've done everything. I don't believe in religion anymore. But most of the island is Catholic. And like I said, this town is dying. There's lots of abandoned buildings. People are moving out. There's been a new group moving in, but it was like a father and son, and they're Muslim. So, of course, I don't think I saw a single black person. No, there was a black person. The mayor's wife and his daughter, they're his daughter's biracial. So there's one black person. Jesus. Um, so we're following them, and then you get to meet his ex girlfriend from high school who ran away from the island. She came back and she's pregnant. Her mom used to be the school teacher and apparently used to be an alcoholic. You meet an absolute bitch of a woman named Bev who, oh, she is the worst. She's one of those Christians that act like they're holier than thou, and it is the most annoying. I was very glad when she finally died. And you meet other characters. There's a lesbian character who is also a doctor who ended up being the illicit daughter of the priest that brings the vampire to the island. But for me, it was mostly about the priest trying to convince himself that he was doing good by giving everybody vampire blood because he thought the vampire was an angel because the quote unquote angel had wings, bat wings, mind you. And also, this vampire like completely sucked him dry and fed him his blood, and so this 80-year-old man got to suddenly become younger, like 30s or so, And I really like the actor who played the priest. He speaks in this sort of almost monotone. And I don't know, I found that enjoyable because he was very captivating to watch, even though he seemed like a very boring character. There's 7 episodes, and they're all like an hour long. And that's probably why it took all day to watch it. um, Trying to think, because I don't want to just talk about the story. I want to talk about like what I liked and didn't like about it. I guess one of the things that I really didn't like about it was the fact that the the show went a little easy on the the religion aspect, in my opinion. I mean, yes, we have a priest who is absolutely delusional, um, dosing his entire congregation with vampire's blood that heals them and makes them younger, gets rid of their dementia, that sort of thing. But the end of the story is when everybody dies because the vampire faction burned down most of the buildings. The people fighting against the vampires burned down the church and the rec center that was attached to it so that they'd have no places to hide. They also burned all the boats. So everybody that was a vampire who were going to die because the sun would come out and they'd instantly light on fire. And mind you, these people, for the most part, well, they had a choice to start with. It was very Heaven's Gate, Jonestown vibes when the night came. It was Easter. Very significant because, Easter, resurrection, that sort of thing. So with these vampires, you have to completely die. And if you have the vampire's blood in your veins, you'll come back to life. So, like, even if you don't have the vampire's blood, if you're fed the vampire's blood as you're dying, you will come back to life as a vampire. And like I said, this flock has been dosed. So, everyone there had a lot of blood, vampire's blood in their system. And this dude, this great bearded, haggard looking motherfucker, took rat poison essentially and died, and he came back to life. And then they were like, you just have to drink this and you will come back to life too. You'll be resurrected and immortal and yada yada yada. They don't call them vampires the entire time. That was pretty interesting. But so the congregation had a choice if they wanted to drink or not. And you see several people make the choice to drink. If I remember right, it was very 50-50 if they drank or not. And so then you get to see a lot of people die violently of poison, very Jonestown. And then when they all wake up, they have a choice because, fledgling vampires, they get hungry, and their first idea is to go after people and drink their blood. And there's people that didn't choose to die, so they turn around and they start attacking their own congregation. Family, eating family, that sort of thing. And originally, the pastor, priest dude was going to just have everyone locked in the church until they could get a handle on things. But Bev, the bitch, took over because the priest got shot and he was taking some time to regenerate. And she's like, no, let's let them loose on the island right now. Open the doors, let them all run out. So these fledglings have a choice of if they wanted to kill or not. And most of them choose to wreak havoc. Even the main vampire sire, the quote unquote angel, goes out and he starts like attacking people. And he's funny because once he has food, you could do whatever you want to him. He got shot like 3 times and didn't give a shit. He just like growled at the person shooting him. And then at the very end, he was drinking on someone else's blood, and his wings started getting sliced, and he pretty much didn't care. It was to be as chill as that vampire is honestly goals, but I'm human. It's not going to happen. But you have very, very few people choosing not to attack the other civilians, because not everybody in this island fishing town are Catholic. Some of them are non-religious. So they get attacked and eaten. And one poor dude that was like the Haggard motherfucker's friend, well, he got saved by the Haggard motherfucker, and then he went and attacked his own kids. And I don't like the ending, because after this congregation went and turned on their own people, and now they have no choice but to die, they start singing a hymn, and it's almost peaceful for most of them. I'm okay with a couple of exceptions, like there were a couple of people that stood apart. The Muslim sheriff, he had gotten shot, so he ended up dying, but his son had been rebelling a bit, and he had started attending mass, and so he had some of the blood, and he got turned into a vampire. But at the very end, he went against the congregation and turned around and set the church on fire. So he and his father were praying. They were doing their you know how Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. They were doing their morning prayers when he got evaporated by the sun. And Bev, the bitch, she didn't want to die, so very last second she started trying to dig herself a hole to hide herself, which I was fine with, but everyone else kind of accepted their fate, and I don't think that's totally accurate to how any congregation would be. And it was also weirdly uncomfortable, because I remembered almost all of the hymns that were being sung. I used to be a member of a Church of Nazarene, which is a little more old school than most Southern Baptists. So yeah, we had those old-fashioned hymnals and stuff, and I recognized it. But I did like most of it. Oh, wait, there was one other thing I didn't really like. Mike Flanagan seems to be a big fan of the ending a series with a monologue, and I guess this is where it's melodramatic, but he did like Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. I like Bly Manor more than Hill House. Briar likes Hill House more than Bly Manor, but that's just because we have different tastes. And I know for both of them, they had Hill House and Bly Manor both had ending monologues that they seem to fit better than what happened at Midnight Mass. I actually stopped paying attention during the ending monologue speech, because it was just a little too much, I guess. Why did we need it? I'm asking you, Mike Flanagan, why did we need that ending monologue? I didn't need it. I understood the point of everything without you going back in time to talk about that conversation again, but this time from the perspective of her actually talking about herself and not her baby. That's another thing that freaked me out a little bit. So I mentioned that the person we followed mostly's ex-girlfriend was back as a school teacher. She was also pregnant. She had left an abusive marriage, and she was pregnant. And because she was taking the blood, she ended up the blood would attack anything that was foreign. And so that since mothers or people who get pregnant, their bodies have to be overridden a lot so that they will actually carry the baby to term, the vampire's blood ended up undoing the pregnancy, like she was never pregnant at all. That was weird. I kind of like that, though. I kind of like the vampires in the story, especially the nods to the old stuff, like the fact that the angel had to be brought through a trunk that was filled with grave dirt. I assume it's grave dirt. It could just be dirt, but I assume it's grave dirt. I really liked that. It's a weird thing to like, but I like vampires. The vampire didn't have any hair on him, so he didn't have hairy palms, so that was disappointing. But I don't know, it was good. Very heavy on the melodrama for sure. I think someone needs to take Mike Flanagan's pen away from the final episodes to just condense some of those monologues a bit sometimes, because, like I said, it didn't work this time for me. It was about what happens after you die. And they'd already had that conversation, and it felt like just a rehash of that conversation and nothing new. So I guess just generally I didn't like the ending that much. I guess that's it for today. My thoughts on Midnight Mass, I guess, are concluded with it was overall really good. Really loved the vampires. Really loved 99.9% of it. Don't think that the congregation should have had any moment of redemption. They should have just burned, honestly. So, maybe I'm just bitter. Who knows? But I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. I'm going to get myself some more water. I actually have to listen to this properly all the way through since I need to cut out a yawn or two. But, yeah, stay hydrated. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.